My name is Jessa Gonzalez Villa, and the book I chose for my section one is called Dia de los Muertos by Hannah Elliott, and it's illustrated by Jorge Gutierrez. Um, the book is introduces us to Mexican traditional holiday called Dia de los Muertos, also known as Day of the Dead. This book goes into depth of remembering loved ones who have passed away with families. It shows them creating an altar for the families or loved ones, who have passed. They decorate them with food, flowers, candles, and more. Along with these decorative items, we are introduced to cempasúchils, which are marigolds. Um, Marigolds are usually put on the altar or left like as a path, for the loved ones. It's usually seen as a path for our loved ones to follow, to guide them to where the family is. And then there's also papel picado, which is like paper mache. And there's also a mention of music and dancing in the book, just because in the end, the book notes that it's not a day to be sad, but a day to celebrate loved ones who were here with us and while playing music and telling stories to keep their memory alive, because we do not forget about our loved ones when they have passed. The visuals in this book, I would say, are very vibrant colors. You can even see in the cover how there's different colors in here. It probably looks dark, but there has a lot of purple, green, orange, yellow going on, which does fall into the category of Dia de los Muertos. It's very common to use those colors. The characters are cartoon-like, as you can see, and I could show you a little bit more. And if you have seen the movie The Book of Life, then that's literally what the characters are, you know, based on or related to, since the illustrated to this book animated that movie. The book has various diverse characters of all ages. You see, there's boys, girls, older women, older men, grandparents, um, kids of different hair colors, skin color, and there's just a lot to show. Uh, and then it does show the loved ones who have passed. They are skeletons. As you can see, it doesn't show them as like this scary character that some people may think of, like, oh, someone passed away, then their skeleton looks scary. No, it makes them, I would say, like, the audience, like, want to join more into the book. It's like, oh, they have a happy smile, this is our loved one. As you can see on here, I'll show you just in a second how it shows the grandparents, the abuelos, and they look the same as their picture that they have up there, just, skeleton form, big smiles, and greeting their loved ones who are living. Um, even goes to illustrate pan de muertos, which again is bread of the dead, and atole, which is common to make on Dia de los Muertos. And here it shows there's like a chef, and there's also kids helping make it. And the same thing with the cempasúchil. On the side, there's a kid, and he looks like he's, smelling them. Also with vibrant colors, and it also shows how an altar could look. Same thing. It has the pan de muerto, the calaveras, the cempasúchil. It also has like important things that the person who passed away played that instrument. I can't think of what it's called, but he has it in his hand and it's there on the altar as well. And it just goes to show that all of this is done to celebrate the creativity of life and the creativity of life and death, rather than mourn them, mourn um family who has passed. I would say this book does fall under informative children's non an informative children's nonfiction picture book. And the reason I say this is because the book is not making anything up. It is, Mexican culture, Mexican tradition, showing and teaching children factual information about Dia de los Muertos and helps symbolizes the traditions and the helps symbolize the traditions of it. It goes to show why and how families celebrate it and why it's important to them. And not only to Mexican culture, but other cultures could also do these altars and make them at home if they choose to. A quote I do like in this book is, but the special holiday reminds us to enjoy life all year round, and it reminds us to honor our loved ones. This way, they stay in our hearts forever. And this is what it looks like. The reason I actually like this quote is because it shows us just because someone has passed away does not mean we forget them. It's not like, okay, you passed away, I'm not just go ahead and forget you. It's not. Instead, we live for them, telling their stories and retelling memories that we've all had together, enjoying those moments. I also want to point out that the author on the top it says, el amor nunca muere, which translates to love never dies, which again goes back to saying when someone passes, it does not mean that we stop loving them. This also tells us to live life to the fullest. I also like the illustration of the living and the dead, how it shows their connection, how it shows how the dead, how they're like, they have this glowy appearance to them, and the living, they have more color, more life in them. But not only that, they still have, their vibrant colors, their designs on their faces. They still, we're able to make out that this is them in the picture, and they're having that connection with their family that's still living. Some strengths this book has is with language, and I say this because it is pretty simplified. Providing a simple explanation of what Dia de los Muertos is versus saying putting in history information in it, and the kids are like, "Well, what do I need to know this for?" Or putting in dates, and they're like, "Oh," like, you don't want them to get bored of it. I feel like that's more like the history information of it is like more up, you know. And then, although the words are simplified, I do think it may be a little bit of information overload because even though it does go into the depth of, not really depth, but simplified terms of what Dia de los Muertos is, I think the way the wording is might be too much. Just how there's like little passages, and if you want your students to follow along, it could probably be like, oh, well, where are you at? Or I don't understand. Um, which part of the passage you're in versus one which is like, say, a sentence, two sentences, but like, okay, they're right here. I could follow along. Which is a paragraph you're kind of, scanning through, and sometimes, it happens to us, we have to do like a read aloud in class, and we're like, oh, I forgot what spot we were in. We have to go and find it. But I do think it may be a little information overload, and it would be more intended for kinder rather than preschool. But I do say some words in Spanish are good. Well, all words in Spanish in here are good, for English learners because they'll feel included. They go into this new school or say they only spoke Spanish at home. They're like, okay, well, I don't know English. How am I going to get along? How am I going to feel connected? Well, here's a book that could help them relate to what they know. And then like it would be like, oh, pan de muerto. Oh, I know what that is. And then it would be translated to students who do speak English. Oh, it's bread of the dead, or just those little things. Let me find that page. Like here, it could be right here. It says we bake a tasty sweet roll, which called pan de muertos or bread of the dead. So a student can be like, oh, I know what bread of the dead is. And then another student can be like, well, I don't know what that is. What is that? And in the book, it explained it to them. It's a sweet roll. And then where it says we make a tole, which is like, oh, a student again, Spanish speaker might be like, oh, I know what tole is. It helps me, even though most of the words are in English. Seeing the pictures, be like, oh, this relates to what I know. And then it also explains what atole is to a hot drink of masa, water, cinnamon, sugar, and vanilla. So it goes to, it'll say the flower in Spanish, translated to English, say what it's used for, say what it is. And then even the book, sorry, they are able to make connections with the words, in Spanish, English. The imagery is very vibrant for the grade level, you know. Since there is a lot of detail in them, you could see they have kids making la tola, the pan de muerto, the different schools and everything. And I would probably list the font as a weakness just because in preschool we intend to see like these big bold letters, which a student can follow, just like I mentioned before. Like they see these big letters, like, oh, I know what this on word is. Or sometimes in books, we'll see like a big old, what is it, like a big O, big N. And usually the font takes up most of the page. In here, it's just like the font's smaller. So I feel like maybe I'm thinking back, if I were little, I think I'd probably be like, oh, I'm kind of lost. I don't know how to follow. So I think maybe the passages might be a little bit too much, but then I do think it does help them advance more. Like it's the words are simplified, so it kind of gets me like, oh, okay, you know, this book might seem like a little too much for them or not, but it's just, I feel like it's good. I do like that the book introduces, culture, tradition, well, Mexican culture, and I think there's other books by Hannah Eliot that introduces different cultures as well, which I would actually like to bring that into say, my classroom. That way I get to know more about those, and so do students. The way I would use my book in a general classroom setting is by first doing a read aloud to the students. I don't know if they make bigger, like a bigger book copy. I'm not too sure. Or else it would be these small ones. I mean, this might be a little hard to show to students depending on, how many I have. But if not, I'll probably do like a projector or something and show it like on a big screen that our students are able to see it better and on a bigger screen versus this, little book like the size of my hand. Um, I would read it, well, depending. I, sorry. First, I generally had the idea of reading out loud to students sitting on a carpet in a circle, but I feel like this book might be a little too small, so I'll probably have like little groups, but then I wouldn't want to have students like section them in little groups just because I want them all to hear it at the same time. And if a student has a question about the book, I want all of the students to hear the question. They're like, oh, okay, I had that same question, but I didn't have the courage or didn't feel or felt comfortable to share it, but someone else did it. So I think I would probably do a projector, depending on classroom size. That way the students could see the better details in the book that are in here. And then I would then like to go more into my activity that I want to do. I would ask the students, each to share a favorite memory they have with a family member. That is maybe going to a park, doing something fun. And next, I would have them sit at their desk if they're not sitting there, or if they have desk table, wherever it is, and remind them about the skeletons we were introduced into the book. That they're not just skeletons; they're past loved ones, and that's how we remember them. And then I will um, show them this image again of the book, like saying, "Look, they have vibrant colors. They have their little swirls or designs." And I know most of Mexican culture is Catholic. There's some who are not Catholic, or really just depends. You don't have to be Catholic to do any of this. But they have like the cross on the school, just having different culture traditions in here. See, like here, and then I would pass out sugar school, a simple sugar school outline. Literally just a little school, has like little swirls. If kids want to draw hearts in the eyes, they could draw hearts in the eyes if they wish to. And then I would pass out markers and color crayons. And then from there, I would remind the students that, it is vibrant colors. All the schools have vibrant colors. You have the whites, the yellows, the purple, green. I'll again show them this page or different ones. They don't have to exactly follow what's in the book whatsoever. They could, I want them to use their imagination, their creativity. And then I would remind students that this is a way that in Mexican culture they celebrate their loved ones and they remember them, as well as stating that oh, I already said that, sorry, I'm kind of repeating myself, that vibrant colors are used. I would put an example of, say, me doing one or like different ones that have been done and just showing them not what it's supposed to look like, but an idea. Since they already have the ones from the book, but an idea what it could look like. But I would not leave it up because I wouldn't want the students again to copy exactly what's on the screen. Just because again, I do want them to use their own imagination, creativity, however they want to do it, however they want to color it, they could do it. But yeah, I really like this book. Um, and that is what I have and what I would do with this book. Thank you.